Once Maghrib comes in, it's going to be the day of Arafah, right? And so one of the things that we want to just talk a little bit about for our brother Malcolm is that he was blessed to be loved by Allah. And so Allah, when he loves you, he tells the angel Gabriel to announce that love, right? And this is why he could go to a place like Mecca and he didn't see. So when we make the journey to Mecca as Muslims, the best thing for our journey to be accepted is that we see God when we go. And when we know that our journey is accepted, is that when we go there and we see the Kaaba and we see the majesty of Allah, we don't see all of the other things that are present. So Malcolm X, when he went to Mecca, he didn't see racist Muslims, right? And this is because of an acceptance that Allah had for Malcolm. So Allah protected Malcolm so that, most Muslims, when we go to Mecca, like, we're not going to be like, oh, we didn't see no racism. The Muslims on their best behavior and their best day. Most of us, when we go there, we're not going to be able to say, man, all I saw was brotherhood. All I saw was unity. All I saw was love. The fact that Malcolm saw this is the proof of his acceptance, that Allah accepted him as he's coming to the end of his journey. So the Malcolm X, the first time he made prayer was not in Mecca. The first time he prayed, an imam named Abdul Hamid, his sister Ella, sent an imam to the masjid to teach him how to pray. To the prison to teach him how to pray. And so he says he hadn't prayed since he was in the prison. So now you have an imam coming to the prison and teach Malcolm X how to pray. I'm sure he taught him the Shahada. Can you imagine the imam went there, he didn't teach him about the 5 pillars? He learned all of this in prison. So what we have is, we have one person could come teach you something, but you don't have an institution. And so what Elijah Muhammad was offering was an institution. So he comes out and he joins an institution, and this institution is a vehicle. And so he becomes part of the Black Muslims of America, the Nation of Islam. And so he starts to teach that, and he rides that as far as it can go until there comes a time when you either got to become Muslim or you got to stay with the nation. And so when we look at Malcolm X, we see Allah's working in that. So Allah, Malcolm X went to Arabia in 1959. So when he goes in 1964, that's the second time going. Malcolm X went to Sudan in 1959. He went to Egypt in 1959. You got to ask yourself, why is it that he wasn't able to see these things in 1959 that he was able to see in 1964? And that's because unless Allah shows you Islam, you're not going to see it. Some of us, not even some of us, Malcolm X. When Malcolm X moved to Boston, was there Muslims in Boston? This is not rhetorical. I'm asking yes or no. There was Muslims in Boston. Ella Collins lived across the street from a masjid. Ella Collins, she used to rent rooms. So the house that she lived in, she rented it out. One of the women that she rented out to was an Egyptian woman. And this Egyptian woman that she rented the house to while Malcolm X lived there, Malcolm Little, she used to run a Muslim school that taught Arabic. So Malcolm X grows up in a house that has a Muslim school in the house. And this is why I don't believe that Malcolm X was glorifying or misrepresenting his streetness in the autobiography of Malcolm X. I think that a lot of academics, it's hard for them to believe that a man who they look to Malcolm. These academics, they say, we love Malcolm X. We can't believe that Malcolm X was that astray. He must have been just trying to sell something to the people because he wanted people to see the teachings of the Nation of Islam in a certain light. But he wasn't really that. No, Malcolm X was that astray. He was so astray that you had Muslims across the street. You had Muslims in the same house. You had an Islamic school being run in the house that he grew up in. But that didn't work for a person like Malcolm X. That Shahada, that wasn't going to work for Malcolm X. He had to go the way he went. And that's a special journey. The journey of Islam in America is not like how Islam went to India. It's not how like Islam went to Persia. It's not like how Islam went to Egypt. It's not like how Islam went to Spain. Because when Islam went to those places, it was basically Sunni Islam. And people accepted it. But when Islam came here, it was not Sunni Islam. It was not the 5 pillars of Islam spreading from person to person. It was unorthodoxy spreading. It was like, if you was to understand the teachings of the Nation of Islam, if you was to see those teachings as a Muslim, you'd be taken aback. But it's those teachings that can reach down into the gutters of America. And this is like the brother said, when Malcolm X finally becomes a Sunni Muslim, the Sunni Muslims, they still don't want to talk to black people. They still don't want to, they like, okay, Malcolm, yeah, like we'll support Muslim Mosque Inc. But not if if you want to talk about racism and stuff. If you want to highlight the black struggle, I mean, we don't know that that's not where we want to go. And so Malcolm X's life brings together the 20th century. When you read about Malcolm X, you're reading about the 20th century. And so now we're in the 21st century. So we got to make a choice as Sunni Muslims. Are we gonna leave behind black folks? Are we gonna just say, okay, that struggle for racial justice? We don't want to. Do we want to struggle for racial justice, or do we want to leave that behind? We want to say Malcolm X, that was good. That was good stuff. But now we're just going to move on. Because they'll move on. Matter of fact, they had a meeting where they said, that black thing was good while it lasted. But now, and this is a real, I'm not being hypothetical or this is a real meeting that the Muslim scholars of the US, they said, look, we don't necessarily want to keep doing that black stuff. We need to move on. We need to turn the page. We need to send our resources other places. Muhammad Sharif was at the meeting. Muhammad Sharif went off. And then Muhammad Sharif comes back to Oakland. He says, man, look, man, they ain't with us no more. They not with us no more. And so certain things that you see, when they say we're going to make decisions on how to allocate resources. At one point, okay, we're going to spend that money in the black community. And then at one point they said, we're not going to do that no more. And so we have to make the decision. What do we want to do? Because if we're gonna say we're gonna keep with these black folks and these Latinos and these inner city folks, we going alone, y'all. It's not gonna be a whole lot of resources allocated for that mission. But do you think Malcolm X, if he's here, he's gonna be in the inner city, or is he going to be in the suburbs? Is he going to say, we're going to keep going forward? Or is he going to cut and run? Because people have made decisions in this country to say, we ain't going to do all of this inner city stuff no more. We turning the page on that stuff. We're going to have like functions in the suburbs. We're going to go to Toronto, Canada, and we're not going to the hood. But Islam, the rejected stone. So Abraham, alayhi salatu wasalam, and then we'll pray. Abraham, when he came to Mecca, he knew he had to build Allah's house. But he didn't know where to build it. And then Allah sent down a stone. He sent down a star from heaven. And that stone landed. And in the Holy Bible, it says that the rejected stone will be the cornerstone. And the cornerstone of God's house is a black stone. It's a black stone that came from heaven. When you look up in heaven at all of the other stones, they're white and shining. And so here, God is showing us, don't overlook these black and brown people. Because even though you don't think that they got something to show, they got something to show. You might not think that they're worth anything. They're worth a lot. And so when we look to tomorrow, we should be fasting because it's the day of Arafah. And the day of Arafah is the closest thing to Yom Al-Qiyamah. When you go there and you see all of these different people and all of these different languages and all of these different hues, it's the closest thing to Yom Al-Qiyamah.